I am the Good Shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father. If you were to go up to the lakes now, you would see spring in the blossoming trees and the carpets of daffodils which fill the valleys with colour. You would hear spring in the gentle bleatings of lamb-filled fields, and mixed with the songs of nest-building birds, their singing only outdone by the louder strident calls of anxious ewes searching out their young. These lambs stand on long gangly legs, unafraid of life, because life is yet too new to know fear. Hundreds of lambs, all looking the same, that is, until you stand still and really look. It is then that you notice the different markings, some with black socks, others with spotted black knees, and some with both. Ears and eyes and fleeces, all subtly different from the next, not only in their markings but also in their behaviour, one more timid than the next, one eager to explore and play, the gentle and the bold, all living side by side. The countryside is alive with new life. The lambing season is a busy season for the shepherd. The ewes need to be looked after as they give birth, and then the lambs need to be protected in those first few vulnerable weeks of life. The hill shepherd's life has always been a hard one, and at times a lonely one, and in some places in the world it is still a dangerous one. A good shepherd must know the sheep in his or her care, and then look after them at all times, day and night. A good shepherd must be calm and dependable, hard-working and caring. Think of Gabriel Oak, the shepherd in Thomas Hardy's Far from the Madding Crowd. At the end of the story, it is he that Bathsheba Everden, the headstrong heroine, eventually marries when she recognises that he will care for her and love her and stand by her through thick and thin, no matter what. After others have deserted her, he will still be there at her side, dependable, caring, strong, resolute and loving. I think that Hardy probably had the image of Christ, the Good Shepherd, before him as he sat down to create Gabriel Oak, the good man and shepherd of his great novel. In St. John's Gospel, Jesus says, I am the Good Shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me. He speaks in a way that he knew his listeners would understand. They would know that a good shepherd loved and looked after the sheep in his care, and would risk life and limb to keep them safe, unlike the hireling shepherd, who did his shepherding for money, for gain, who had no loyalty or love for his sheep, and in times of danger would ensure that he was safe rather than his flock. The hireling shepherd would say that he was merely doing a job, and that his life was not worth risking for those of a few sheep. The false shepherd would ask the question, is my life worth more than a few sheep? The good shepherd would reply, you can only answer that question when you understand what responsibility and care are, when you understand what love is. Jesus Christ was crucified for us. Before we turned to him or showed him love. Some would say that it was not worth the Son of God suffering and dying for us, that he could have saved himself all that suffering and pain. However, he died to show us love, not because we loved him, but because he loved us. Jesus gave himself willingly for us and then rose from the dead to show us God's love and his promise of eternal life. In this gospel reading, Jesus reminds us that there are other sheep not of this fold. He reminds us that his love is for all people and is an inclusive love. Therefore, God's church can never be exclusive. It needs to reach out and share its work with all people and all nations. Our world shrinks every day as communications improve and bring people from all corners of the world together with an immediacy which just a few decades ago would have been unthinkable. So we become closer to one another. Differences are not as great as they once were. The Good Shepherd cares for each and every one of the sheep in the fold. All are valued for who and what they are. The image of Jesus as the Good Shepherd is one of the earliest images of Christian art. It was perhaps used because people could look at it and see in it an image of nurture, care and goodness. A shepherd makes for a more appealing picture than one of a cornerstone or of a fish, and it gives God a human face so that we can relate to him simply and naturally to help us feel at home with the divine. A picture of God as the Good Shepherd also gives us the ability to grasp in some small way the purposes of God, the ways of God, because they're mirrored in the work of the shepherd. Jesus used the image of God as the Good Shepherd to enable people to understand in part something too wonderful and too complex for them or for us to fully understand. Jesus is using the Good Shepherd as an example of God's care. And in doing so, he took those who listened to him way back in time, to the songwriters, the psalmists, and to the timeless words of the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want. He makes me lie down in green pastures and leads me beside still waters. He revives my soul and guides me along right ways for his name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You spread a table before me in the presence of those who trouble me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You spread a table before me in the presence of those who trouble me. You have anointed my head with oil, and my cup is running over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Timeless words of comfort, timeless words which speak of the God who cares for us in both times of trouble and of joy. I am the Good Shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me.